Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Tourismus Namibia. As we always do, we bring you a couple of news items. Then after that, we follow it up with a few destinations. And then at the end, we've got an interesting interview under To The Point for you. My name is Frank Steffen, as you can see there on the screen, and I'll be leading you through this magazine show. Like I said, welcome. Let's not talk a lot. Let's go to topics. Yeah, if I have a look at this, we've got a full program today, and that's why I said don't talk too much, rather come down to the themes. Under topics, first and foremost, we see frack-free Namibia and Botswana. They're stepping up their game. So this week they brought out a new video. You will recall me speaking about SOUL, which stands for Saving Okavango's Unique Life in the past. So frack-free Namibia and Botswana, together with SOUL, have compiled this video together with other environmentalists in their fight against Reconnaissance Energy Africa, in short Recon Africa, which together with the Namibian parastatal fuel supply company, NAMCOR, continues to endanger the environment, i.e. the biodiversity of the Kavango region in our country's northeast. This is a photo of Mbambi where they had their second drilling borehole. So just have a look at the video.
We are fighting for the Okavango Delta. Ay, ay.
Welcome to the legendary jewel of Africa's Kalahari, the Okavango Delta. Surrounded by desert, this gem is home to Africa's last great elephant herd. Rhinos, wild dogs, big cats, and many other endangered species, as well as some of the planet's most ancient cultures. The Okavango Delta is the continent's last great untouched oasis. But just 250 kilometers upriver is an area licensed for fossil fuel exploration by Namibia and Botswana. It casts a slick black shadow over the Kavango and our suffering earth.
We're looking for underexplored areas in the world with the potential for large discoveries of oil and gas. And Namibia came out very high on that list. A very large basin in the northeast corner called the Kavango Basin. We took a license for that area, and now we're moving ahead to explore it.
We expect to confirm the existence of a working hydrocarbon system. The sky's the limit for this company when we do that.
Humans and wildlife have lived in harmony here for millennia. Yet now Canada's Recon Africa has been granted a license to drill with the potential to extract 120 billion barrels of oil and gas.
We're standing up against Recon Africa, which is coming with a destructive deal in the Okavango Delta, drilling for gas and oil.
A deal which threatens every corner of our planet.
I'm really ashamed that it's a Canadian mining company trying to go into a biodiversity hotspot as important as the Kavango Delta.
We ought to be ending all exploration and production of oil.
As money and profit are prioritized, we are driven towards a sixth great mass extinction. But for fossil fuel companies, it's business as usual, a business that has scarcely changed since 1956, when the first commercially viable oil wells began to pollute the Niger Delta in Nigeria.
I would not live with myself if I allow this to become another Niger Delta and destroy an entire ecosystem.
Our people are jobless, the areas have been destroyed, the waters have been polluted.
No profits can justify the death and destruction left in its wake. The impacts of the climate emergency are already taking their toll on southern Africa.
I say to these people who are critics, who've likely never been to Namibia, let alone the Kavango region, come to the Kavango and let's just have a look at the environment.
This used to be a soccer field. This belongs to the community. We'll give the right to Recon Africa to take this away from the community.
Recon Africa predicts taking around 120 billion barrels of oil. That's up to 51.6 gigatons of carbon dioxide from the Kavango Delta.
This represents 1/6 of the remaining carbon budget available to all of us if we're to have any hope of surviving global heating. In short, we are looking at a carbon bomb lying beneath the paradise that is the Kavango region.
And the fundamental resource, that resource is in fact becoming more and more precious for the simple reason is the world has no empty places.
We are meant to be guardians of this beautiful jewel of a planet. We don't want your oil and gases.
Now is not the time to be drilling for oil and gas.
Disruption is likely or most likely to cause to wildlife and the danger it poses to underground water and local drinking water.
And they've also been seen to construct the contamination ponds which host radioactive brines.
Just above the potential oil field, the precious water flows through the desert. If this water is polluted, it will devastate local communities and rich and delicate ecosystems.
We know the oil will be a benefit to those that have cars, but they should also remember that not everybody has a car. We are to suffer more compared to those that they are trying to help. We don't need the oil company because our grazing lands will suffer from petrol and our cattle will have nowhere to eat. Our farmlands will be acidic, for the farmers won't be able to farm anymore. Our water, our rivers will be filled with oil.
Profit for a few cannot continue to come before the well-being of all.
Do you see the irony of exploring for oil in this very spot?
I think you got, the oil is where you find it.
That's all, folks.
Putting money into this sort of thing now is not only morally and environmentally reprehensible, it's also a stupid bet.
A stupidity that is rapidly pushing our living systems towards destruction.
Promises on climate regulations in the global north ring empty when all companies affected by them have to do is find a country somewhere needing financial boost and with great exploitation potential.
People are outraged across Canada to imagine that a Canadian company wants to develop fossil fuels to speed the climate emergency. Indigenous rights and local people's rights are being ignored.
The destruction is already underway. Exploratory drilling has begun, but it's not too late.
We're all putting in our voices of opposition to this endeavor.
Canada, you want to call yourself a climate leader? Well then, show us.
Here and overseas, the Canadian government must start recognizing Indigenous sovereignty.
Please do not destroy our water in the Okavango Delta.
We're in it together. We're all in this together.
A powerful global campaign led by Namibians has rippled from Vancouver to Sydney. Inspired by Africa's frontline defenders, we are committed to save the Kavango.
Or the state that Recon Africa will leave Namibia in when they are done drilling for oil. It's not going to be their business anymore.
Instead of drilling for more oil and gas, we need clean energy, such as solar electricity and wind power. To stand even a small chance of avoiding environmental collapse, we must leave oil and gas in the ground and listen to the voices of Africa. Otherwise, the Paris Agreement is not worth the paper it's printed on. And this means defending the Okavango from fossil fuel companies.
What happens in Kavango
won't stay in Kavango.
What happens in the Kavango
won't stay in Kavango.
What happens in Kavango
won't stay in Kavango.
What happened in Kavango
Won't stay in Kavango.
Betmba oikova Kavango. Ndaputa mo in Kavango.
What happens in Kavango
Won't stay in Kavango.
What happens in Kavango
Won't stay in Kavango.
What happens in Kavango won't stay in Kavango.
So we fight for her now, the best way we know how. Yes, we fight for her now.
Yeah, I rest my case, I would say. We've spoken about that so often on the show, so I think that is a very clear video there, self-explanatory. So maybe now you understand why I'm so often adamant about the fact that Recon Africa first has to complete their task, meaning that they first have to have an environmental impact assessment which actually passes passes the proper channels and where they allow for different opinions to be raised. So anyway, that's Recon Africa for you. Up next, Dubai Expo. Many of you will remember we spoke about it before. We wrote about it a lot in the Namibian press. So after 6 months of promoting Namibia, we now see an end of the Namibian Pavilion. That is at the Dubai Expo 2020. It was officially closed at the end of March. Namibia was one of 192 countries participating in the fair, which took place in the United Arab Emirates from 1st October right through to 31st of March. And by the end of the expo, the Namibian Expo stand had recorded a total of 397,255 visitors. That amounts to a daily average of in excess of 2,100 people. So quite a good show there for them. And then our next topic takes us to the Hans Seidel Foundation. Hans Seidel and I must say the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, they came together, and the Minister of Environment, Pohamba Shifeta, has announced that Namibia will no longer export timber in its raw form. Instead, Namibia will only allow the product to be processed with the communities in these areas, or by the communities in these areas benefiting from the sale of these products. So including export, that would be. He said so last Wednesday during the premiere of the film The Forests of a Desert Land, which is an initiative by the Hans Seidel Foundation. The film aims to draw attention to how important the forest is for Namibia, as the future of the forest is closely linked to the future of the inhabitants of that area. So trees conserve and cycle water, and they produce approximately 20 to 30% of the oxygen that we breathe. So, the film is part of a campaign against the uncontrolled logging scene in Namibia during 2018, and subsequent to that, we wrote about it a lot. We spoke on this program a lot about it. And the Hans Seidel Foundation has been a staunch supporter of an awareness campaign after almost a quarter of the Namibian forests in the northeast were literally destroyed by mostly Chinese loggers at the time. They exported exotic woods such as 100-year-old rosewoods to their home country. So here's a video to explain more.
Mona omiti di hapu mo Namibia. Ondahala ngeno muhadi omiti inadike wapo.
Mwana kare na mungaure na hakire de kume na itondo no ipumbu no iputa. Eshi muhungumana mumumvure uthina kuitondo huwa wapo na moni ne pawaruki.
Sena swale moninke na akara ngwendi mo wizangos na ndimo ihwa rutu ntani na ple ruhesoro so kuhesera peke wene ambara kuhesera wawa tani watu tukuzua we nasi eroroko
wange okuthoko mutiduni. Go badi how to make it. Yeshi who kere dodi awa kari.
Ukachinja na primo uzuni sena sichio inzi wa itete.
Kumona kuitondo dia idi. No kumona kumupepo diura kupunga. No mvura diara kuwa. Yeye kuneng sasi kadi kengi akare pakare kare kengi.
Na kurpera veshi unomwaga ni pamwanga ora kura omwi. Yeshi tuyangure yo yingi dia. Yeshi ikone kutwa amwe na marapa yetu.
Kanjomo atuturu okuombamo nutekulu vange amandi valombwene kuja amende katikapo andi vaokololene numbinde katikapo valombwene kuja nanye otashidulika mutiko mitideni ndetamukakalamo ngashitulye imongaha.
Isn't it sad that both these themes are from the same area? Once you first had the massive deforestation that occurred up there in the northeast, and then the same people were hit by this Recon Africa phenomena. So in both cases, you always see that the forest has to give way to humans, and it's sad to see, because make no mistake, it's part of the Kazakh Park, and it's supposed to be the one area where animals are still looked after, and they have a proper system that looks after them. And both of these, fauna and flora, are busy being endangered simply because of greed. So I'm quite sad about it. Okay, up next, we've got a good story at the Avis Dam. They announced this week that the paved way from a sluice, it's only a tiny sluice going over to the dam wall, that is being paved and to allow for wheelchair users and people with walking disabilities to access the dam wall. So the chairperson of the NGO Green Space, Vera Fryer, explained that the first part of the transition from the sluice over to the dam wall has now been paved already, or is in process of being finally paved. Quite good news, because Avis Dam is a much liked venue for people who just want to relax for a moment. So a piece of good news on that side. Up next, we've got destinations. Right, welcome back. And some of you will remember that a while ago we spoke about the Made in Namibia collection. This is a new thing, or not such a new thing anymore. For the past 5 years, they have been in Swakopmund. We indicated there. It's typically right in the center of town again, just across from the Swakopmund Buchandlung, which would be your local book dealer down there at the coast. And so we previously spoke about it, and today we bring you an update. Yandi Duplessis has actually gotten hold of quite a proper interview with him, or where they basically talk about their shop. You can see there how it's made up, so it's a distinct yellow color. You can easily see it in town. And they have a range of gift items, clothing and souvenir memorabilia products, sorry for that, proudly made by Namibians, as they call it, from conception to completion. And so these days, the Made in Namibia collection includes 2 retail stores in Swakopmund, where the entire collection is available in each of them, as well as the wholesale department that supplies select items to tourism businesses nationwide. So this is quite nice to see that they support the locals. The owners, obviously, we spoke about him before, Raymond Spal, but his wife Marilyn is part of it, and they want to be catalysts for those in Namibia who create craft products but do not have the marketing skills or access to stores. So here's a bit of a video.
Hi there, this is Ray from the Made in Namibia Collection. I'm the co-founder. My wife Mel unfortunately can't be here. She's busy with an order which we've got to export, and so yeah, she can't be here, which is great. This is one of the reasons why we opened up the store. This particular order which we received now in February goes to the Netherlands and affects 15 different suppliers in Namibia. So we're incredibly happy about being able to do this at these current times. Well, I was asked recently why we opened up the store and why we opened up the concept. And first of all, it started already back in 2015, so it's been running for 7 years now. And it was for that reason, the wholesale reason, that we actually opened it, to supply more Namibian products. The tourists were constantly asking for less imported, more local. And that's exactly why we took that decision, conscientious decision, to support local. And we basically have been doing that, well, since 2015. And it's been a conscientious change, I must say. But it's working. And now behind me, this is our concept store, which we opened in November 2020. In the midst of COVID. And it's done very well. We've been able to work with currently about 65 suppliers, local suppliers, SMEs, artists, artisans, seamstresses, and not only just for gifts and things, fashion items for tourists, but also for the local industry. So yeah, we're very glad and very happy with our choice, and things are looking up. So we're very positive for the future. We always support local. We hope to see you one day. Please come visit us.
Yeah, this is quite an interesting concept, obviously, because he doesn't only try to buy and sell, but he actually allows people to market their products. And why it is interesting is because Raymond and his wife Marilyn, they've always aimed at also accessing markets overseas. So looking at exporting cultural artifacts and whatever products that we produce here in Namibia. And they've just had a meeting at Midgard the other day where quite a number of youths were allowed to present their case, and they're actively looking at a solution, trying to find market access to Europe so that when tourists come here, they can obviously buy the stuff, but then on the other hand, they should be allowed to also order it over the internet and so on, so that they don't need to drag all the stuff along as they walk around here, but they can rather, after they leave, go and still order some of the stuff that they need. And who knows, collectors from overseas being able to get hold of this stuff. So I think it's quite a nice little thingy there. Up next, we've got HH820, that's at Grootfontein. And Elvira Hattingh spoke to the manager of HH820, Hermanus Klute. Now there you see this place as the road leading in from the left into Grootfontein, and then not far from center of town, you've got HH820 Accommodation. So quite a biggish complex there. And it is in Grootfontein, obviously, and situated in the town centre, and features an old world charm, as they call it. It is built in a 1930s colonial style with dressed limestone and high ceilings. Each of the 5 rooms are uniquely decorated, adding to the serenity of a lush garden with interesting bird life. So clearly you can see there from the photos, a very nice place. There's a bit of sort of old-fashioned sort of thingy, but I love it. I mean, this is just beautifully made up with all these old decors and remade collection items. So really quite nicely done. So next time you go to Grootfontein, this might be a nice place to stay over, or well, literally use it as a jumping board to your next destination further up in the north, or wherever you go. But she's also compiled a little interview for us, or video clip of an interview.
Hermanus, thank you so much for being willing to speak to me today. Would you, in a nutshell, maybe explain what you have to offer at HH820?
HH820 is an old family house. It's also a house built in the late 20s, early 1930s, and yeah, we offer accommodation inside the old family house in five bedrooms that is furnished in a farmhouse style, and so quite exclusive with good linen. And then I also offer meals, breakfast, lunch and dinner. Also, I do all the cooking myself. I source all the produce for my meals from local farmers and from the area. And yeah, that's basically what it's all about. Yeah, lush garden, you know, to relax in. Most people arrive for a one-night stay. We from time to time have people that stay for a couple of days longer, and so we also, over the last 4 years since we are in business, had quite a number of clients that are returning to us.
Hermanus, you also receive guests from all over. Please tell us where your guests are.
Yeah, well, the first 2 years before the COVID lockdown were mainly international, from Germany, France, England, Italy. We also had guests from Australia, the Far East, and the United States and Canada. Yeah, so lots of local people, Namibian people, or people from Southern Africa. Quite a number of South Africans that are here through the winter months on their tour through Namibia also make a stop here. Some stay over, some only stop over for a lunch. Yeah.
Okay, and you say people stop over here. What are the attractions in this environment?
Well, what we can offer them here is our, in the immediate vicinity, what I normally do is to introduce them to our museum, that it is one of the most informative museums in exhibition on the culture, the mining industry, the agriculture industry, but also from a lot of information from the settlers' time. So that is an attraction. I also arrange with local farmers that are not too far away for a day trip to either a crop planting farm or a game farm or a cattle farm, and that people also enjoy. Take a picnic along and then go and visit some of the farms in the area. Other attractions in the area are the big baobab tree, and also the Mangeti National Park is also not too far away. A day trip from here to the Etosha is also possible.
Yeah, a little paradise in Grootfontein. I for sure have noticed what he's done there. So lots of these little antiquities that he's touched up and whitewashed and all types of things. So really, it's a very, very nice place that Elvira dug up for us there. So clearly, next time you go to Grootfontein, remember HH820. It doesn't seem the obvious choice of a name, but it is what it is. So anyway, that is the end of our destinations for today. Up next, we've got To The Point. Yeah, obviously you can always see 1UP2 there that was played for you there. 1UP2 is where we bring all our shows together, not only Tourismus Namibia, but in Afrikaans program, Klets Kompas, you've got evening review by Namibian Sun, and so it goes on the whole day through. So all of our live shows go into that one program, and you can review them any number of times. So being sort of working together with a number of shows, recently Tourismus Namibia was able to secure an interview for Africa Good Morning, and it was done with Mr Domingos Zefanias Gove. He's the Director for Food, Agriculture and Natural Resources in the offices of the SADC in Botswana, that is in Gaborone. So almost a year ago, all the ministers for tourism and environment in the Southern African states recommitted towards the developing and development of especially the so-called transfrontier conservation areas. You will remember last week we spoke about the Kaza Park. It's one of those transfrontier conservation areas. Huge by any standard. It's, I think, the third largest in the world. And personally, I'm a big believer in these TFCAs as they allow us to conserve fauna and flora in its original state. And so it goes beyond our man-made borders. And that to me is a good thing. Like I said, in the Kaza Park that spans Angola, Botswana, Namibia, Zambia and Zimbabwe, it's huge. So in our conversation with Mr. Gove, we found out a bit more about this principle. Have a look.
Welcome back. We are now joined by Mr. Domingos Zefanias Gove, the Director for the Food, Agriculture and Natural Resources Directorate of the SADC Secretariat. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Welcome to the morning show, Dr. Kindly tell us more about who you are and your function within the Southern African Development Community.
Yes, thank you. I think you have already announced me. I am Domingos Gove. I am the Director of Food, Agriculture and Natural Resources, which also includes the work that I'm developing here in the SADC Secretariat includes actions addressing crops, livestock, food and nutrition security, also address environment aspects, climate change, fisheries, wildlife, forestry, and tourism.
All right, could you please tell us about the Boundless Southern African Feasibility Study Report and Roadmap, and what Southern member state expect from that?
Yes, the Boundless Southern Africa, it is a program that is already running for a while. It was developed by the SADC member states in 2005. In fact, it started operating in 2007 in preparation for the World Cup 2010 that took place in South Africa. And the member state thought that it was a good opportunity to maximize the impacts in terms of tourism, or the tourists that will be coming to watch the games. And then it took the momentum. The Boundless Southern Africa has been hosted by the South African government since that time until March 2022. The decision that was taken by the ministers was to include the Boundless Southern Africa program within the SADC Secretariat to be fully funded by member states. And basically this program would be developing the markets for all the transfrontier conservation areas in the region, and also be promoting the investment for the TFCAs, and also promoting the rural economic inclusion of the community so that the community can benefit from the tourism activities within transfrontier conservation areas. But I would like to highlight that this is a program that is already running. The decision of the member state was to upscale it to include all the 18 TFCAs that exist in the region, and also to fully support it through their contribution so that they could maximize the impacts in the entire SADC region.
Thank you. You briefly touched on the transfrontier conservation areas and 4 emerging TFCAs. What are the implementation plans? Is there a time frame, especially now that all of our member countries urgently seek a tourism revival?
Yes, you know, the transfrontier depends on the member states fully. We as SADC Secretariat, we are supporting them. We are improving the enabling environment so that they can move in this regard. So basically, in terms of the plan, it may be challenging for the SADC Secretariat to say by this time we'll have all the transfrontier conservation area fully functional and so forth. But what we are doing now is, for example, the SADC has established the transfrontier conservation area financing facility with around 23 million euros. And we are targeting around 100 million euros in short and medium term. And this is to encourage and support member states to work closely together and increase the management and functioning of the transfrontier conservation areas. We are also promoting advocacy so that the member states could engage and work together. We are also addressing aspects of climate change, capacity building, training, all the relevant stakeholders to promote the transfrontier conservation areas. Now, in terms of the plan, I think everything is there to support, to encourage, to help the member states to move into operationalizing all the 18 TFCAs that include inland, but also coastal and marine transfrontier conservation areas.
All right, Mr. Domingo, now finally, what message would you like to pass on to the people of Southern Africa, in terms of recognizing the importance of this niche market that sees Southern Africa filling a transboundary tourism market that offers international tourists a unique experience?
Yes, the Southern Africa is the only region in the world that has the big five in huge amount. The elephant population in SADC region is the highest for the entire world. We have more than 70% of the elephants in the entire world. The lions are mainly in Southern Africa, for example, in Tanzania. The rhinos are in Southern Africa, buffalo, etc. So whoever that is in the world that wants to see the big fives, the only place to see them in abundance is the Southern Africa for the entire world. In addition to that, we have a high biodiversity of coral reefs, pristine beaches, and so forth, and good people. So I think we have a very good niche for developing and reaping the benefits from tourism, not only for the livelihood of local communities that are around the tourism or the transfrontier conservation areas, but also for our economy and mainly for regional integration. Through the development of tourism in TFCAs, easily we can promote regional integration and maximize the benefit for all citizens from this region.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Domingos, for joining us. That was Mr. Domingos, the Director for the Food, Agriculture and Natural Resources Directorate at the SADC Secretariat. After the break, we'll be back with more. Stay tuned.
Yeah, quite a nice man, and like I said, I arranged the interview. He's a national, or a Mozambican national. His home language is Portuguese, but a very pleasant man and good ideas. I hope he can all turn them into reality, because like with all these governmental institutions, whether it's SADC or even the EU or whatever, it takes a bit of time swaying all the minds to all think the same. So he has got quite a huge task, especially if he's also responsible for food production, agriculture in general. So that was Mr. Gove. But anyway, that brings us to the end of today's show. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed presenting it. Interesting stuff this week. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you still have a good Sunday afternoon, and hopefully you'll enjoy a good week up front, and then we'll see each other in another 7 days' time, same place, same time. Until then, bye.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition.